Welcome to another episode of Making Their Rounds. Tonight we're going to be reviewing Kill la Kill, one of my favorite animes, and tonight we have Wubwave.
Hello.
And Chaosmana.
Hi.
To start us off, rightfully so, Wubwave is going to take the review or the reins. Go ahead and hit us up with your best shot.
Do you want to describe the show first, or do you want me to describe it?
You know, hold on.
Yeah.
I fucked up. Made a mistake. Before we get off into the review, I'm going to give you guys a synopsis of Kill la Kill. Okay. Kill la Kill is set at Honnouji Academy, a fictional high school situated in Tokyo Bay, Japan, on the island of Hono City. The school is dominated by its fearsome student council, led by Satsuki Kyoryuin. Its students wear Goku uniforms, which give their wearers superhuman abilities because they are constructed with a special material known as life fibers. Ryoko Matoi is looking for the person who's responsible for the death of her father. And now, Wubwave, go ahead and take it away with a review of Kill la Kill, please.
So, I first found the show when it first aired back in 2013, I believe. I just heard people talking about it, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I booted up an episode, and I was immediately greeted with a what? Because it's a very odd premise, and it does not take any time to give exposition. So you're immediately thrown into this weird high school that is run by a student body president that is basically a dictator. She even wields like a sword to discipline students, and the student council, who is just a odd menagerie of characters. But I was immediately hooked. And so yeah, in 2013 it became like one of my favorite animes when I watched it in its original sub. And only recently we watched it for anime night with the English dub, and that was the first time seeing that. And I was really surprised by how good the dub was. They've really nailed all the characters, I felt, or at least nailed the spirit of them with English actors, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I think that first episode has one of my favorite parts. I'm not gonna say my favorite part because there's actually a ton of really great moments in the show, but it's the one moment when the head of the disciplinary committee of the school is chasing after a student who stole one of the uniforms. And he jumps out the window, and you see what the guy he's chasing running down a spiral staircase. And then in the background, you just see the disciplinary committee chair falling past, laughing like a maniac, chasing after him. And like that, from that moment, I was like, all right, I'm hooked. This show is for me. So yeah. It's probably definitely one of my favorite animes, too. It's hard to get people into, which is why I was a little nervous for anime night, just because the main character, Ryuko, the superpower she gets by the end of the first episode, this isn't a spoiler, is her school uniform transforms into, like, I wouldn't say battle armor, because it's the reverse of armor, and that it covers nothing. It just makes her really strong, but also really scantily clad, which is something that I know a lot of people turned off from the show because of. But I always felt like it made sense because everyone in the show kind of goes through nude moments. Like there's even a character that is one of the teachers that his clothes just melt off of him as he speaks. So it never felt like weirdly out of place or creepy like a lot of, I guess, ecchi anime like that does. But yeah, so I was happy that I was able to introduce it to all my friends because I highly recommend it as it's one of my favorites, and I'm glad that they were able to get past that little entry barrier of minor nudity and fan service. Yeah, very minor nudity. Like,
Yeah,
no nips are shown.
exactly. So there you go. Wubwave's review highly recommends it. I'm gonna pass the torch/baton on over to Chaos. Just give us a brief layout, if you liked any of the music and characters and all that other fun stuff.
Well, I definitely see where Wubwave's coming from. If you don't understand what you're about to watch, then the initial moments of the show can be seen as, oh, it's just another one of the more stranger animes that would normally turn people away. But if you actually watch, even for a few episodes, you can see that not only is it a really amazing story, a really amazing build-up, it has many different layers that you don't even get to see at the very beginning, and it's all packed into just one season. Uh, it's the way they actually put the story together. It could have just ended midway through the season and still been a complete story. Uh, they all the characters are really interesting. They don't just have generic bad guy team. Even uh, a lot of other animes you have really big bad guys, but after they're defeated, they're just simply defeated. With each of these characters, even the enemies, every time you see them, they're built upon more. You get into their backstories. You are able to connect with all of the characters together, and it makes it a really interesting. Like you like all of the characters that they show, and the way they blend it in with the animation style, even using part of the joking editing tricks to save on animation for future scenes by making certain aspects like monologuing and funny moments lower quality on purpose so they could save it throughout the show. And all the music is just a really great soundtrack. Everything works together as a really nice story, and it's one that's really interesting even when watching over again.
Would you recommend this anime to a friend?
I would recommend it to anyone that is looking for a show with a good story. Like, if you're the beginning part is just simply the barrier to entry. So I would recommend it to anyone as long as they understand that it's not it's treating the entire lewd part of the show as a joke in and of itself, and also as a way to build character. Then, and, of course, there is technically fan service, but that's not the main point of the show.
Okay, that's awesome. I completely agree with both of the things that you guys have mentioned. I really enjoy Ryuko and Satsuki. I think there's this really cool dynamic between the two of them. And as the story sort of unfolds, you get to see that dynamic and just overall how Honoji Academy works. And there's a lot of different lessons to be learned. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But there are other varying things that happen as well, where it's like people act a certain way, and not all people do. At the end of the day, people are good here and there. There's just really cool lessons to be learned. When it comes to the music, I really, really love the intro and the outro. I like the sort of GBA, Game Boy kind of graphics sometimes that they have on technology that kind of plays into all of their technology, really. And it's kind of cool to see these mechs here and there, or the DDRs. But they'll have like a Game Boy Advanced like screen tech. So it's really cool. There's a lot of cool elements. By the way, before we get into around the table discussions, I want to say huge spoilers in advance. We're going to be talking about the whole entire show. One of my favorite moments is probably the bigger spoilers is when you find out that Satsuki and Ryuko are actually sisters. And it's like, it's always really cool to, like, you wouldn't expect it either. You had no idea. They looked kind of similar, but at the same time, they're like, yeah, they're just probably different people. You never know. And then, bam, plot twist. And that's another thing, is like, you never expect an anime like this to be super, like, really in-depth story that has all this fan service and whatnot. But it's like what Chaos said previously. It's not the main point. It's more satirical. Anytime they do fan service or anytime they do anything, it's satirical based. So it's comedy based, and really cool. So that was my favorite moment. And would I recommend this to a friend? Most definitely I would recommend this to a friend. And I believe me and Wubs both recommended and said it would be great anime for an anime night. But like we said, like Wub said previously, there is a barrier to entry, so we wanted to introduce them to a few other animes before we kind of shove them out into the dark abyss of Kill la Kill and all the other animes that are like Kill la Kill.
Yeah.
Okay. So, other than Urigamagori just laughing hysterically, which I love his English dub voice and the laugh so much. It was the best. It was one of my favorite moments as well. I'm a little upset.
Is his laugh not as crazy in the Japanese version?
I think it is.
It is, but I really enjoy the dub version laugh way more. I also enjoy that voice actor to begin with. Like, he's played a lot of characters that in animes that I've watched for a long time. So it's just it was amazing to me. It was sort of nostalgia. It's like, I love this guy.
I thought, Zach, you were going to say that your favorite moment was the quote, "You have to build a castle in your mind."
Oh, yeah. See, there's like 3 moments. It was the Irigamagori falling down the stairs or like out of the building while laughing. The huge plot reveal that Satsuki and Ryoku are sisters. And then my third moment is definitely you have to build a castle in your mind and it'll never crumble.
Yeah.
Your will is the concrete and whatever else is the steel beams, and it'll live in your heart, and you got to etch it into your heart or whatever. I love that quote and that like monologue. That's Satsuki when she's like 6 or 7.
We're at the round table right now, right?
Yeah, we're at the round table.
So I just want to say this. Satsuki was right all along.
I agree.
Yeah, Satsuki is probably my favorite character from that show because she's just like, it's weird. Like, she's like her mother, and that she's able to gather minions, basically. But she's... How is that not as tyrannical? Because she's pretty tyrannical.
Well, she's acting tyrannical on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, she has an entire goal in mind, and is willing to paint herself as a tyrant and score her reputation forever just so that she can help humanity from the plan that she knows is going to happen.
A true hero, who cares about my name and who cares about what they say about me. It's about the end result of doing good.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, we're getting into major spoilers now.
Yeah,
of course.
I already said spoiler alert
good.
Near my thing.
One of my favorite moments was when she raises up onto the deck of that ship wearing Sinkets.
Oh yeah, that was super
like,
cool.
When you start at the beginning of the show, you would never expect that that's gonna be a thing,
Yeah, you never expect these huge plot twists that happen when you first start watching the show. Your first time watching it, you're like, oh, this is cool. This will probably happen until the main fight where Ryuko kills Satsuki, and that's the end of it, right? Or badly wounds her or whatever.
It was going to be like they already were rushing for the tournament when she was just facing off against them one by one, and then suddenly there's a random visitor that is like leagues beyond anyone else that's there at the moment. And my favorite like switch is when she actually stabs Ragyo, and then like reveals when it reveals that the entire reason she was like building up the school and spreading everything across was just so that they could take her down instead of actually assist her.
Yeah. And I like the fact that the Elite Four are like legit characters.
Yeah.
Because there's that moment.
Add-ons.
Yeah, there's that moment like before the end of the show where she's like, if you want to fight by me, I'm gonna have to deck you in the face as hard as I can. And it's like, and she's like, fine, do it. And Ryuko goes to punch, and you just see Gamagori just go like, boop, right in front. And then she's like, what? And I'm like, okay, I want to do it again. Then boop, Uze Sagama, or whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I guess you have a group of crazy friends too. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps as you're talking about it, because it's like Urigamagori's like, is that the best you can do, Ryoko?
I would have
Matoi.
died. Like he did do that with the knowledge that a punch from that type of person would have actually killed him if she had wanted to.
You're gonna have to do a lot better. Like, if you're gonna hit Lady Satsuki, it's like, oh yeah, They're friends, you know?
Yeah, like they're not just the Elite Four is like my favorite characters simply because they actually matter. They're more than just, oh, we get like a second form and a final. Even like they got better, and then they even fought against their old selves and like showed how much they had changed from that point.
Yeah.
And you get to see how they meet Satsuki. It's great.
Yeah, it's super good. Like, this anime is definitely, I want to say, in my top 15, top 10.
Probably
like,
my top 5, in all honesty.
Top 5? Yeah, I mean, I would have to do a lot of deliberating. I've seen a lot of anime the last few years, man, and there's still more anime to come. But yeah, I mean, I might be on it. It's easily within top 10, I would say. It's such a, you expect it to just be your average slice of life, you know, battle royale high school anime, and then it becomes so much more as time progresses on.
And yeah, that is the big part about it is it does start out as just this like super battle going towards it. Like even that's a nice story in and of itself. And like if that guest hadn't shown up and then she had managed to beat Satsuki with the combined power that she had already gotten, then it would have still been an interesting story and like all around it would have been fun to watch, but it got so much deeper than that immediately. Like while still maintaining its funny air, silly jokes, even with the more like at first I found Matoi a little annoying, but it was still it like started to make sense as it went on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Any other last little moments we want to add or tack on to?
Would we incorporate musical moments as...
Oh yeah, go for it.
The music is spot on with this show.
It gets stuck in your head.
Every character gets their own song, yeah.
And it keeps playing every time they do something, even if it's for a little bit. And I've actually looked into the, like, people say that the song itself for Raggio's theme was, the pronunciation wasn't the best as far as German goes, but they still chose the best song and the best way to present it, so that even though you didn't necessarily know that she was going to be the main bad guy behind the entire thing and basically beyond Super Saiyan level of power, but you still got an amazing chill just from that first moment. Like, that song is, like, over all the others, just rings with me because of how well it was, like, brought in, how well that character was just shown together, and then further up as she was actually defeated.
Yeah, and I also love how Mong Kong Shuk played a huge part as well. Even though she wasn't extremely strong or anything, she still had a huge portion of dealing with the hardships with Ryuko and just sort of like humanizing her, because over time Ryuko becomes this like combatant. She's a soldier. She stops sort of like understanding that she's human, you know, and that becomes forwarded by the plot because it turns out that Lady Raggio was experimenting on her younger daughter by infusing her body with life fibers. So it's like that continues to be a struggle with her as the story goes on, and it's awesome to see her best friend, someone you would consider your best friend, would do something like that for you. They would, if they were truly your best friend, and it's cool to see that dynamic play out, and her have a part in the major battle to come when she becomes the president of the fighter club on the battleship. That was an amazing moment for me as well.
I like the idea of their fighting style. It's not just another whichever. They each have their own bit representing them. Like, what's best about you is involved in what makes you special, in a way.
Exactly. Well, that seems to do it. Stay tuned for more making the rounds. We'll have loads of anime, some cartoons, some movies. Don't forget to, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you have any suggestions of things that you want us to review, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.